we have from Investview, Joe Camarado. There he is. How's it going, sir?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I will let you take it away, sir.
Okay, great. Thanks, Brent. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joe Camarada, CEO of Investview, and I'll try to keep this pretty brief and get to the Q&A section. Investview is, as you can see here, a fintech blockchain brokerage company. We're a public company listed on the bulletin board, which has had quite a big change in the last 6 months. We'll go through a little bit of a story. We just had an shareholder webinar earlier this week. So some of the information is fresh. We've reused it in this slide, and I'll go through a lot of it and answer any questions as we go on. I'm going to start by saying that basically the default disclaimer that all the statements are historical in fact. They're forward-looking statements, and please pay attention to this and refer to any of our filings under the EDGAR at investview.com. So as I mentioned earlier, I took over as CEO in January 2020 or late December. And I'll just go through what we've been doing. For those of you that do not know about Investview, Investview was initially, for many years, a network marketing company that focused on investor education. They would teach people how to trade and provide different strategies. There was a registered investment advisory for a while, but it was a company that was teaching investor education, but didn't have any trading tools necessarily. So when I became CEO of the business, we decided to go in a direction of fintech with some diversity. So we'll go through a little bit of that today, talk about what happened from January of 2020, the current state, the vision, and then, as I said, a brief Q&A. This is, again, we use this for the shareholder webinar, but it's my background. Fairly boring, just almost 30 years of fintech. Some of the notables are I created back in 1992 one of the first off-exchange trading systems. Basically, took the NASDAQ system and made it off of the NASDAQ to allow people to trade electronically. I then created in 1998 one of the first ECN aggregators or market aggregators and smart order router. I then sold that business to the Bank of New York in 2004, and then had a 3-year sentence working for a big bank, which was very tough. Came out in 2008 and started into mining and was fascinated with Bitcoin mining very early on, obviously. But I took a lot of my trading experience into the mining and built one of the very first level 2, full depth of book Bitcoin trading system, which got a lot of interest from some large people. But the problem was, if you were a trader, you didn't know what mining was or Bitcoins. And if you knew what Bitcoins were, you didn't know how to trade. So that system kind of went on a shelf. And then I started into my next business, which was a smart order router for institutions, which quickly garnered about 2 to 3% of the U.S. exchange volumes on a daily basis. I then sold that business along with the crypto to Overstock in 2015. It became T0, one of the first digital exchange trading system, along with the existing brokers firm that we had and all the systems. So that kind of took me out to 2018, where I started a family office. And then in 2020, late 19, early 20, got involved as a CEO of Investview. You can advance. Sorry, it's there already. So I took over, and as I mentioned earlier, this was a network marketing company that had an enormous amount of debt and really was having a tough time. Basically, the team and I eliminated the debt. We started reducing a lot of the operating overhead. There were some businesses and lines that really weren't good that we cut out. We got into additional products. As I mentioned, the big part of our business is diversity, and not just network marketing, and we'll talk about now we're into Bitcoin mining and brokerage, but also diversity of other products. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We've got the network marketing business is called iGenius, where we're a distributor of the NDAO token, which is a very cool adaptive currency. It's done great, and as of late, it's increased very nicely because as opposed to Bitcoin, where it's statement of work, we are a staking, so it's statement of proof, where you're using much less power. There's a storage requirement, but it's a lot more green, and it's in light of recent events, it's been getting a lot of interest in that it's more, energy conscious. We've established now, that being said, on the BTC side, we are one of the third largest, or we're the third largest miner in North America. We're mining about almost 3 Bitcoins a month, and we'll talk a little bit more about the financials in a bit. And as I mentioned earlier, we're diversifying into fintech and other crypto blockchain technologies. This is a quick run through of the financials. What's most notable is, well, first of all, our fiscal year is a little bit strange. We run from April 1st, through March 31st of 2021. So we are now in fiscal year 22. So I'll talk briefly about 21 fiscal events. Basically, the cliff notes are the business lost $23 million last year, and off into this year, we are now doing about $2.8 million a month in profit. So it's been quite a turnaround. I'm just looking at 37.7 million revenue. It's up 56% year over year. 1.6 million net income. So that was just the early start of it. So you could see essentially a big turnaround month. So, and then the full year audited financials will come out on the 29th. So again, that was more for the shareholders, but thought it might be interesting for you guys. Again, quick, where do we stand? In late April, the board announced that we are now registered for a reverse split. So as I mentioned earlier, we are on the bulletin board, and it's not the best place to be, especially in light of us with the expansive growth that we've had and the turnaround. A lot of people still see us as a penny or a penny and a half stock, which we were last year. So we're looking to uplift potentially on the NASDAQ and start getting some marketing and get the word out there a little bit. May 3rd, we reported, again, another record month of 3.43 of revenue, and that's just mining revenue. May 5th, we talked about, a lot of people were saying, well, the shareholders, the stock went from, 1.5 cents and it went as high as 80 cents or so. And a lot of people were saying, hey, are all the shareholders dumping? And we thought it was important to tell the world that no, the major shareholders and executives have all locked up. So nobody's selling, and we have a lockup that goes out for, I think, about 4 years with some provisions in there. And then May 7th was a big announcement. We announced the acquisition of brokerage, a broker-dealer, registered investment advisory, and Prodigio, which is a very high-tech trading system, which allows essentially for individuals to create their own customized solutions, the power to create their own algorithms on the fly using if-then statements. So if you can see, we're rolling this all into a large brokerage play. Maybe if you've seen Robinhood or maybe Investors Interactive Brokers, it's a combination of all of these with a network marketing play. So now we'll talk about a little bit of the future. As I mentioned a little while ago, we've come a long way. We're now looking to provide the brokerage, advisory, trading algorithms for both self-directed and institutional investors. Again, it's a very big market. I've been in the institutional space. I've played a little bit in the retail. Let me put it this way. We're in a very hot space. If you look at all that we're doing, from, first of all, Bitcoin mining, very hot right now. Brokerage, if you look at Robinhood, and fintech. So we're really on the growth trajectory to do, potentially we're looking at 40 million. We're on track to do 40 million revenues this year. We're looking to get into other products. We're looking to expand into routing and clearing services potentially, to have under the fintech umbrella, everything all encompassing. So you could trade, create your own algorithms, but then we want to be able to provide routing and clearing, so everything is in-house. We're looking to get into, on the brokerage side as well, mining. So not only trading of crypto. So while we're mining, we're also able to trade any crypto assets from Bitcoin, Ethereum, and obviously we'd like to trade our NDAO, which we're offering as well as a currency through iGenius. Part of the big problem also now we're seeing in Bitcoin mining is there's millions and millions of miners out there, and a lot of them just stop working because of the high heat that they're under. They're using a ton of electricity, so they're running very hot, and they die. I mean, essentially, there's probably millions, if not tens of millions, of Bitcoin miners that have just gone to the scrap heap. So we're creating a service of repairing these miners, and also cooling technology. So we've come up with some patented technologies around cooling of these miners, and also reduced consumption. So we're creating some firmware, an advanced firmware that allows these miners to be more efficient, burn less electricity, run cooler, and then again repairing of these miners in the facilities. So we think that's going to be a huge service, and again diversifying from just mining or just trading or just network marketing. And as I mentioned earlier, we're going to utilize our global distribution channel of iGenius to market and distribute all of these fintech products that we've talked about today. And again, quickly, I'll run through the basic cores of the business. It's broken up into three segments. iGenius is, again, the distribution of investor education and network marketing for all of our fintech products. On the right, we have SafeTech, which is the mining operation and now the repair and optimization facility. And then in the middle, we have the Investview Financial Group, which is now encompasses more of the fintech, which has the brokerage and advisory services, Safe Management, which is a commodities and Forex registered investment advisory as well, and then the trading tools, Prodigio, which will be advanced trading tools for retail and institutional traders. So I guess in summary, what I'm talking about here quickly, and I apologize for racing through this, we don't have much time. But what we're doing is basically, we've got the vision and the team has been executing on it very nicely. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. We've taken a network marketing company and turned it into a fintech company while still utilizing the tools that existed for distribution. And as I mentioned earlier, we're in some of the hottest spaces right now of fintech, crypto mining, brokerage, advisory. And the one thing that a lot of people aren't realizing is the sheer amount of data that we're collecting on all of these products. And people talk about Facebook and Uber and Google, and these are all great companies, but they're really data companies when it comes down to it. So we're also excited about the opportunity of figuring out how to monetize this data. And again, further diversification of what we're doing. So in summary, we're in a very hot space right now. We're diversifying well, we're growing significantly, and we're very excited about the future of what we're building here.
Awesome, Joe. The pacing was great, man. You know, if it felt like you were rushing through there, no, you did a good job, man. The chat was interested in having you expand a little bit on when you were talking about some of this cooling technology, some of this repair for these mining operations. Can you elaborate a little bit on that kind of segment? And do you know when you're going to hear back about some of those patents that you mentioned related to some of that technology?
Yeah, sure. We have filed, and off the top of my head, the provisionals on the technology, there's differing technology. So let's talk first about the cooling technology. We're working on several technologies. I mean, I could say broadly, there's liquid immersion is, and it's almost exactly what it sounds like. There's nothing magical about it. It's been around for years, but it's essentially taking electronic equipment and just pouring into liquid, non-conductive liquid. It's almost like a mineral spirits of some sort. I mean, I wouldn't suggest mineral spirits would gum up your equipment, but it's utilizing the thermodynamic qualities of liquid to disperse heat very efficiently. And, without getting into the detail of our patents, we're utilizing some of that along with some very revolutionary other cooling technologies, which we will talk about shortly, but not right now. You know,
I gotcha.
We have an R&D facility we just opened in the U.S. that is doing the repair and also the R&D for the cooling technologies. Now I'll talk about the repair. It's a huge business right now. With the amount of miners and with Bitcoin where it's at right now, the pricing increase, as I mentioned earlier, there's a ton of miners that just stop working because they're in very demanding environments, hot environments, and people they don't have time to repair it. They don't have the knowledge to repair them, and they just replace them. So there's tens of millions of units out there, and we've got a ton already that we've been repairing successfully, and we're now starting to turn that into a service for other very large mining companies.
Super interesting stuff, Joe. Wish we could get to a couple more questions here, but if you don't mind, could you give the audience some good contact info to get a hold of you? Maybe they can get some of these other questions answered.
Yeah, sure. The website is investview.com. I think it's PR and investview.com is the best email to contact.
Okay.
And that would probably just PR and investview.com.
Gotcha.
And the company's number is on the website.
Appreciate
it. Just popped up. So great.
Yep. Investview.com it is. All right. Joe Camarata, he's CEO of Investview. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thanks, Brent.
All right. Yep. Later.